Could have everyone's attention, we will now go into our millage rate hearing. I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting tonight. And we were thinking we might skip the pledge, but I think some new people might be here. We're going to pledge anyway. If you'd stand. Can't pledge too much, right? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda before you?
So moved.
A motion by Tom and a second by Mike. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, Mr. Hamel will now present the millage rate.
Tonight, I will be presenting the 2024 tentative millage rate. The millage rate that's being proposed is 15.3. The rollback provision under state law will be 14.635%. I'll go more into that in a few minutes. Debt service is 1.418, and the rollback provision on that is 1.2. Tonight is the June 15th, 5:30 p.m. called meeting. The next millage meetings will be held on June 22nd at 9 a.m. and 7 p.m., and the final budget will be approved on June 29th at a called meeting at 5 p.m. So this is the 5-year tax digest history that by state law we have to produce. As you can see, this particular one under 2023, it shows a 16.3 mils. At the time when we got the data from the state of Georgia, from the county, we had produced a budget at 16.3. And as you can see, the data on here is a little bit out of date. The numbers have changed since we got the information for this. But this is the tax digest information that was produced in the paper about a week and a half ago, if you want to go back and look at it. Under this provision, the net increase would have been 17.25 at a 16.3 rate. The next form is called the PT 32-1. This is the form that the tax commissioner's office is required to compute for us so that we come up with what the rollback rate is. As you can see, the 22 tax digest had a net digest of $16.7 billion at a 17.3 rate. If you look at the reassessment and then look at the other changes to taxable digest, you'll see that reassessments went up almost $3.2 billion. The other changes, which most of that is growth, is $825 million for a net digest in 2023 of $20.7 million. At the 16.3 millage rate, the formula produced a rollback provision of 14.635%, which means that at 16.3, at a 16.3 millage rate versus a 14.653 rollback provision, that means the tax increase would on average be 11.38%. Now, I went back and ran the numbers at a 15.3 number. And if the 15.3 number is inserted instead of the 16.3 number, that increase is only 4.54% on the tax digest across the board for people. The next computation is the computation for the debt service. Again, the numbers were $3.2 billion in reassessment value, 826 in growth for 20.7. The current digest is 1.418. In order to get back to last year's number, you'd have to roll back 2.18. And the increase on that particular one is actually 18.17 between 1.48 and 1.2. Just which means that we'll generate more money on the millage rate when it comes to debt service. All these calculations are done by the tax commissioner's office using this particular form. This form is by Georgia Law 48-5-32-.1, parentheses C's, parentheses 2. And this is state law on how you compute this. Once again, the rollback provision is if we were to collect the same amount of money we did the previous year, we'd have to roll it back to 1.2 for the M&O. And, we'd have to roll it back to 14.635 to get the same exact amount of tax dollars in this year compared to last. And that's the millage presentation for 2024. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I just want to make a couple comments. So I think this information is very useful in the sense that when we talk about the rollback rate, what that means is if we were to collect the exact amount of taxes as we did last year, our millage rate would have to be 14.635. The millage rate we're presenting is 15.3. So it's 4.5% above the rollback rate. So the additional taxes collected are 4.5% more than last year. So that's going to be real indicative of what your tax bill is going to do. The resolution that we passed for the homestead exemption, we said we wouldn't go up more than 5% in a year. And we're looking at a millage rate that does about 4.5%. So we're within what we said unanimously we would do with the homestead exemption. So I wanted to put that on everybody's radar.
Anybody else? Ready? Okay, thank you. We have 5 speakers for the millage rate hearing, and the first one is Andrew Oviatt. Was that close?
Good evening. I thank the board for your time. My family moved here. We selected Forsyth County because it had the housing, the location that fit what we were after, and the taxes were reasonable compared to the rest of the South Forsyth, North Fulton area. Since we moved here, just coincidentally, the same date that you all focused on in the budget, 2006, and since then, we bought a $200,000 house when we moved here. And we've had a 49% increase in our property tax. So I know old school and county and all that included. That is an incredible amount of increase. And I've heard some suggest or say higher than that based upon home values. So I understand budgets, understand revenue. And the fact that the assessments have increased so incredibly much does give the county, does give the school district a raise every time the assessments go up. So this isn't about percentages, it is about dollars. So the board has done a great job of selling the budget. I'm almost back there standing up and applauding what a great job y'all are doing of selling the budget. It's impressive. But the reality is, it's not just this year, this new budget. It's last year. It's the year before. And it has been increasing at an incredible rate. The incredible growth of the county, both residential and commercial, is incredible. The county's done a great job of encouraging selling the county, encouraging more movement here, which again continues to increase the revenue. So increasing the tax burden per household doesn't just affect each of the families in here, everybody in the audience and the board yourselves, but it also does affect the teachers that we're talking about giving an increase in salary. Given an increase in salary, increase in taxes, it's a decrease in income all the same. So important to consider. So bottom line, the millage rate needs to be adjusted back to rollback. It's got to be done at some point and this is the right time to do it. So rollback rate, I think everybody would appreciate that, that would make sense, and it's still an incredible point for the budget to maintain the resources for the schools. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Doug Mooney. Hey.
Hey, good evening. Just a couple of things. You're right, there's a lot of misinformation going around, and so this is my first time being here. I don't envy any of y'all in the positions you take, but at the same time, I want to applaud you for what you've done. It's hard work, it's away from your families, and hopefully it comes to our benefit in some way, shape, or form. I've been here for 35 years, and I've never seen taxes go up like they have in the last 2 or 3. I'm in the mortgage industry, so I know housing. I know housing in our county. It's not going away. We don't have enough. I think we need to look at our developers. I think we need to look at our builders, and we need to look at our commercial folks and get their influence on y'all's budget. They're the ones bringing it on. They need to take on some of that. I think right now my biggest concern is I'm 5 years away from retiring. We chose Forsyth County years and years and years ago to come here to stay. And I'm hoping that the senior exemption stuff is misinformation. Because I will tell you, in my plan for retirement with what you are doing now is going to push me back 5 or 6 years if we don't do something about it. That means that for me to pick up and move to another county that's going to accept a senior exemption, I'm okay with that, other than I've got 35 years invested in all of y'all in some way, shape, or form. And so I think that representing those of us in retirement, going into retirement, that we need some assurance out there saying that's not going to move to 70. And I'm seeing some dumbfounded faces up here, and that scares me. I hope
it
that's
would-
not
it-
what I see.
No, it would have to be a vote, a
Had to go
countywide
on the
vote.
ballot.
We can't just do that.
Well,
We
that's,
have
I
no
think that's part
power.
of the misinformation
Right.
out there.
Yes, it would be a countywide
Absolutely
vote.
no discussion about changing the senior exemption, to be clear.
Okay. Keep up the hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Stephen Emmett.
Thank you. Thank you all for what you do. And thank you, Dr. Bearden, for being very responsive to my emails. I had exchanged some questions to you previously about the 65 tax relief issue. Those were based on rumors, so thank you for being very available to me. You don't see that very often, and I just want to commend you. You stole my thunder on the millage, Dr. Bearden. I came here to encourage and advocate for a more forward-leaning reduction of the millage, and I think that you are doing that. I want to preface any of my other statements with, I do get that the Board of Education is not the one setting the assessments. You're taking a lot of the heat for that. But unfortunately, your budget is a big chunk of our property taxes, so that's why you're seeing all of this, and of course that's why I'm here. But instead of talking about the millage anymore, I feel good about that. So I have nothing more to say about the millage, but I just want to use my time to be an advocate, like the past speaker. I'm 20 years into this county. I moved in 2002. I've got 2 kids that went through the system, and I'm enjoying the increase in my property taxes, or excuse me, my property value, but I'm not enjoying the taxes. Thank you.
Yeah.
A little Freudian slip. But I know that you're not setting them. That's just the way it goes. But on the senior side of things, while we are getting more taxes because of that, we are probably moving into more of a fixed income. And if that age 65 relief doesn't come, and you've said it is not in jeopardy, so I'll not beleaguer the point too much. But we really need that, or else we will have to move to other counties, because the values of our property have moved up so much as we've moved into a fixed income. You will see a migration of your elderly out of the community, and I hope that that means something to you, and you will do your part in preventing that. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Next, we have Carter Barrett.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Carter Barrett, and I'm very honored to be one of the representatives for Forsyth County down at the Capitol. As a lot of people know, and some people might not know, we have 8 people in our delegation at the Capitol. There are 2 senators, and there are 6 representatives that represent different parts of the state, but there are 6 representatives that touch parts of Forsyth County. And some of you have heard back out on the campaign trail, I have an expression that says, we need to fix the things that need fixing, but we also need to celebrate the things that need celebrating. And my children are products for Forsyth County Schools, and y'all did a marvelous job with them. And I just want to thank y'all for that, because y'all really did, the product and the outcomes are simply extraordinary. 70% of our children are Hope Scholarship eligible. You've got a wonderful dual enrollment program where our families can get 2 years of college taken care of right here while you're in Forsyth County, which is a great benefit. Y'all didn't create inflation. I guess you kind of do, because y'all have done a good job with school systems, our school system, and people want to come here because of it. But y'all don't create profligate spending in Washington DC. And y'all don't control supply and demand on housing issues like that. But you do a great job with and the outcomes with our kids or a parent. And I'm very grateful for that. But mainly, I want to thank y'all for the work y'all did with myself and every member of our delegation on the floating homestead exemption that all of the voters and all the people in this room and all of our citizens will get to vote on next November. Because it took all of you board members coming together unanimously to say, we're going to limit how much we allow taxes to grow in any given year. I think that y'all recognize the peaks and the valleys and how turbulent that can be for homeowners and families. And y'all got on board and did that. And that takes some temerity and some confidence to do that. And you work very closely with the delegation, all 8 members of our delegation, to get that done. And that law was signed by the governor this year. And I just want to thank y'all for making that happen. And it was a great honor to work with y'all on that. So thank y'all for all that you do for our families, and thank y'all for making that happen as well. So please keep encouraging everyone to get out there and vote for it in November. So thank y'all.
Thanks. And last, we have Raj. I'm going to let you tell us your last name. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. This is my first time participating in any sort of government proceedings, and being in the county for 20 years. And I guess, like many people who have spoken before me, the rate increase got me out of my chair. Okay. Having said that, my son went through this school system. Y'all did a pretty good job. And he has done well for himself. But the first speaker today in the millage rate thing largely stole my thunder, but it makes it easy for me. Millage increase is, I think, what we have focused on, but largely the home values have increased. So even if the millage rate stayed the same, we'd be paying a lot more taxes. And so when we talk about increasing millage rate by a certain percentage, I don't think it's a good way to look at it. You have to look at it in terms of the net dollars, and I think the previous meeting spoke about the budgets. The gentleman over here spoke about, okay, with 90% of the budget is salaries, let's take a critical look at it. In corporate America, when we look at it, we go after where the costs are. So if we want to control costs, we go where the costs are. People have spoken about the benefits, this, that. Again, so it's important to take a critical look at this, because if we don't nip it early on, we will become a school system which takes far too much. And while you are delivering just wonderfully right now, in the future, the overheads will just keep piling on and will become an inefficient school system. So my point to all of you is, take a critical look at where we can have savings. Not that you haven't, but I think that's something that you need to do, instead of just counting, oh, it's only a 4% increase. Somebody said that it's still a 66% increase that'll remain off the increase that we're given. So I implore you guys to look closely and help us out. Thank you, everybody.
Does anybody else have any comments or anything? So we did get the senior exemption thing straightened out, right? Everybody understands that, and, you know, I'm 61, so I'm shooting for it too, so it would be a long process and have to go to the state, and everybody would get to vote on it if that happened. All right, if nobody has any other comments, do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Lindsay, second by Mike, all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you for coming.